everyone, it is Delancey. Welcome back to my channel. Today we are going to be chatting through my 2020 bookish resolutions, talking about all the goals that I am hoping to set for myself in this coming year. So without further ado, my first resolution of 2020 is to start and end an entire manga series. Now, I read my first manga series this past summer in 2019, and that was A Silent Voice by Yoshitoki Oima, and I absolutely loved that series. It was such a positive experience that I want to relive that kind of experience again in 2020. So ideally, I'm looking for a series that is relatively short, one that I can read in the entirety of a year, and hopefully a series that is also completed, so that I can go throughout the year and just check out the books one by one as they become available at my library. And then bonus points if there's also an anime that has been created from this manga, because that's always like the cherry on top after you finish a series, if you get to watch like the movie adaptation and see how it lives up. So I have a few series in mind right now. I'm currently looking at The Host Club, Death Note, Fruits Basket, Sailor Moon, and then my brother was also kind enough to gift me on my birthday a few first books in a couple of different manga series, so I'm not sure yet which series I will be reading in 2020, but we shall see. My second reading resolution is to read at least 2 sci-fi books in 2020. Now, if you've been following me for the past few months, you know that I recently read my first sci-fi book and I honestly really liked it. So I am hoping to kind of itch my way out there a little bit more and try a few more books in this genre. So what I'm currently looking at is Starsight. This is the second book in the Skyward series by Brandon Sanderson. And then I'm also looking at the Illuminae Files. My good friend Sadie recently read the first 2 books in the Illuminae Files series and she absolutely loves them. So I think I'm gonna give it a go. We'll see. I'm also looking at books like Dark Matter as well as The Martian, but they may be a little too hardcore for me. I'm still a little uncertain of how I feel about the genre, you know? Like, I'm interested in sci-fi, but I don't love sci-fi yet, you know? My third resolution is to read 1 nonfiction book, preferably a history book, in 2020. Now, I've read a lot of nonfiction books. I've read a lot of nonfiction in 2019 as well as years past, but they've all been kind of biology-based or, you know, medical books, and that all has to do with what I'm studying right now in college, which is nutrition science. But I'm really interested in 2020 to read about a random time period, event, or niche community of people that I just would have no idea about just going about my regular daily life. So I'm turning to my dad for a lot of help with this resolution because he is a huge history buff and he has countless bookshelves packed with history books. So I'm not entirely sure yet what I'm gonna pick, but he does have a lot of options. So what I'm currently looking at right now is A World Without Fire, Devil in the White City, Diary of a Bookseller, as well as The Five. That one has recently really caught my interest. It just won the Goodreads Award, I think, for the history genre, and that is apparently a really wonderful account of all the different lives of the women that were victims of Jack the Ripper. Sounds pretty interesting, but we'll see. This resolution is definitely going to be one of the more difficult ones for me to fulfill, so if you have any recommendations for history books that are relatively short but very interesting, definitely comment down below. I would really appreciate that. My fourth reading resolution is to read 1 classic this year. Now, all throughout middle school and high school, there are plenty of opportunities to read classics, classical novels, poems, plays, but I just was not, like most people, at the right time of my life, the right age to truly appreciate those pieces of work. So more often than not, I was frequently breezing through the classics or not even reading the classics at all, pretending to have read the classics. And now, at this point in my life, I feel like I can truly appreciate some of those novels. As well as I become a more critical reader, I think it would be really beneficial to look back on some of these classic novels and read the books that are really the foundation of a lot of the modern literature that we consume today. So some current books that I'm looking at would include Lady Susan, Lolita, Fahrenheit 451, Pride and Prejudice, Lord of the Flies, and then recently I got the idea that I might read Little Women so that I can then enjoy the movie that is coming out very soon because that looks so good. Now, my fifth resolution is pretty ambitious and kind of broad in statement, and that is simply to tackle the Cosmere books. Now, what exactly that means or how do I measure the completion of that resolution, I don't don't entirely know, but basically I just want to read more Brandon Sanderson books. A few days ago, I started The Final Empire. This is the first book in the Mistborn trilogy, The First Era by Brandon Sanderson. And yeah, it's only been like a week and I absolutely love this book. I've blown through it. So at the bare minimum, if I can finish this book, read the second book and the third book, by the end of 2020, I will be happy. That will be enough for fulfilling this resolution. But if I want to get super ambitious, like just a few days ago, they announced the release date of the fourth book in the Stormlight Archive series, also by Brandon Sanderson. And if I can somehow read the first 3 books of the Stormlight Archive series so that I can enjoy the fourth book when it is released, that's like top of the echelon, like fulfillment of that resolution. So we'll see. I don't know. Like I said, very ambitious resolution. Now, my 6th reading resolution is also broad in statement, and that is simply to read more diverse books. Now, I keep this statement broad because I think there are a multitude of different ways that I can fulfill this reading resolution. For one, I want to read books from a variety of different authors, from a variety of different backgrounds. I also want to read books that have a variety of different representation. And that was really inspired by this past year in 2019. I had the pleasure of reading A Very Large Expanse of Sea, as well as With the Fire on High. And I loved those books so much, and they really opened my eyes to all of the diversity that is out there. And so I just really want to make it a priority in 2020 to just diversify my reading experience, if that makes sense. Because this is kind of a broad statement and there isn't a black and white way of measuring the success of this resolution, what I'm thinking of doing is inputting all of this data into a reading spreadsheet. So I don't know if you know who Allie the Hardback Hoarder is, or her booktube channel, but she is really awesome and she produces great free resources such as annual reading spreadsheets for people to use. And you can input all of this data, such as like just genres that you're reading, a book's release date, or so on and so forth, whatever you choose. You can customize it to fit you. And that's what I'm planning to do. And then ideally, a year from now, I can input this data into like a pie chart or a pretty graph and look at how well I was able to diversify all of the books I was reading. So like I said, Allie the Hardback Hoarder, she produces some really great resources. So I will link all of her stuff down below if you're interested in checking that out and keeping track of that kind of data as well. My 7th reading resolution is to attend at least one bookish event this year. Now, this could be an author signing, this could be a release party, a book talk, a book convention, or just an event being held at my local library that has to do with books. I just really want to make it a priority in 2020 that I get out there in my local community and meet fellow book lovers face to face. Not only is it just kind of something to push me outside of my comfort zone, but I think it could really help if I'm ever in a reading slump. So we'll see what I manage to find. My 8th reading resolution is to participate in at least 3 readathons this year. Now, I first entered the booktube community on a readathon. I participated in Read with Cindy's Asian Readathon in its inaugural year this past May, and I absolutely loved it, had so much fun. And from there, it inspired me to start my own booktube channel. And then after that, I participated in the Reading Rush, previously known as Booktubeathon, and I had so much fun participating in that as well. And when I have the time and the energy to devote to these kinds of events, I just absolutely thrive and flourish during readathons. So once again, in 2020, I want to make them a priority. So the 3 readathons I'm currently looking at are Owls, hosted by Book Roast, in, I think it's April. And then of course I'm gonna do the Asian Readathon again if Cindy will host it. That's kind of like, it's gonna be like tradition for me now, I think. And then also the Reading Rush, because who doesn't love to participate in the Reading Rush? And finally, my 9th reading resolution is really just my Goodreads goal for 2020, and that is to read, drumroll please, 75 books in 2020. In 2019, I set the very low goal of just 15 books, and now, as of today, in early December, I've completely trampled that goal and have read 42 books. So And I didn't start seriously reading until about May or June of 2019. So I think with that in mind, with a full year ahead of me, being much more mindful about my reading, as well as learning about resources such as audiobooks, which I had no idea about truly until I entered the BookTube community, I think 75 is an ambitious but also reasonable goal for me. So we'll see if I can hit 75 books and beyond in this coming year. All right, you guys, that is going to do it for me and my reading resolutions. Comment down below if you have any books that you would recommend that would help me reach my goals. I would greatly appreciate that. And then also comment and let me know what reading resolutions you may personally have going into this new year. I will catch you guys in the next one. Bye!